Midnight's Children is one of the world's most beloved novels. 32 years after it was first published, it is finally a film now. It has exploded upon the world now as a movie. The maker of the film and the writer of the novel, Salman Rushdie and Deepa Mehta, are with us in the Headlines Today studios. Welcome to you both. A sense of relief, a sense of achievement that the film is released without a hitch in India?
Oh, I'm thrilled. I mean, you know, there are always people that say that something's going to happen or the other, but it's just been wonderful. I mean,
was there really no problem at all?
There was no problem. I mean, there's a bit of a hiccup when we were shooting, which in Sri Lanka, but that was resolved in 2 days literally, and we were there for more than 100 days, and there was no problem at all.
And in India, Salman, were there any problems at all?
I have to say, really, I mean, in spite of all sorts of speculation that there would be problems, there actually has been.
There was speculation.
There was speculation in the Indian media.
Yeah.
But you know, the speculation was completely unfounded. I mean, there was a point where we were talking to a number of Indian distributors at exactly the moment that people were writing articles about how we wouldn't find an Indian distributor. In fact, we found one very easily. You know.
Were you mentally prepared at all for you know, the film perhaps not releasing in India, a worst case scenario?
No, I would have been very disappointed. I mean, look, as you said kindly in your introduction, this book has been around in India for a long time and has been very well liked. You know, there's never been an issue about Midnight's Children, and so why should there be about the film? You know, I mean, the book has been here, and millions of copies have been sold, and people like it. And pirated.
Have you ever been sold a pirated copy?
I've been asked to sign one, and I remember when I expressed some reluctance to sign a pirated copy, that the person who had it said, "What do you want, Mr. Rushdie, readers or royalties?" And I said, "I don't see why I have to choose."
Yeah, both.
The pirates were so happy at one point when the book first came out. They were selling so many copies of the pirate edition that the pirates started sending me thank you greetings cards. Happy birthday, the pirates. Happy New Year, the pirates.
You know, the film, the making of the film, Salman, you know, you've been quoted as saying it's you know, the completion of a circle for you. Explain.
Well, you know, I'm a boy from Bombay. The novel was born out of that experience. You know, it started out, before it grew, it started out as a desire to write a novel about childhood, which was going to draw on my childhood in Bombay. You know, so the novel's birth was that. You know, and then all these years later, after the novel has had this extraordinary life, you know, for the film of the novel to come back to India, you know, to the place where it was born, if you like. You know, that's what I meant by closing a circle.
All right, and in the making of this film, was it difficult to relate to the country that you once knew?
No, because I mean, I had, you know, first of all, I've always retained a kind of feeling of connection with India, so it doesn't feel like that was broken, you know. But also, of course, I had my own novel as a guide, you know. And I had I mean, I'm not starting from scratch. I'm starting from a 600-page book, and the interesting challenge was to revisit that after all these years and to see how one could tell the story cinematically.
You know, the book and therefore the film, you know, Deepa and Salman, is based in India and Pakistan. Did it take away from the film that you couldn't shoot in either of these countries?
I chose not to shoot in India, Pakistan, for the main reason we came here for a recce, and we went to Mumbai, and we went to Bombay, we went to Delhi, and we went to Agra. And in Agra, you know, the minute you go slightly higher than a first floor, you see nothing but syntax tanks.
No, you wouldn't like it. Okay.
You come to Bombay, you come to Delhi, and you know, when you go to Kasturba Gandhi Marg, or what was in that time in the 1940s, Curzon Road, you see nothing but high-rise buildings, and the metro and the overpasses, and it's the same thing with Mumbai. I mean, you go to Bombay, and we went there. We went to Warden Road, where Methold Estate was, where Salman has set that whole, you know, the whole growing up. You know, we talk about the 1940s again, 47, 48, 49. There is no way you can see anything that is even remotely.
Did that make you sad though, that you couldn't shoot in India? I mean, you recceed, but you figured that you could.
We did shoot in India. We have shot in India.
I mean, largely.
No, not at all. Because it was just, I mean, as a filmmaker, you know, filmmaking is all about smoke and mirrors. Gladiator wasn't shot in Rome. That's the way it is.
Salman, you've said that you're bored of being called controversial. I imagine the both of you feel that way. You're bored of being asked questions about the controversy that seems to surround you. But it does follow you everywhere you go. Even now, you know what's happening in Jaipur. You've got Islamic clerics who want the people who read
Salman is here.
who read out from the Satanic Verses last year. They want them arrested. I know you've been asked this question before, Salman, but what would you say to these clerics? They're not saying anything about you this time. That's the difference.
I would tell them to get a life. Maybe they need to watch more TV. It just seems like they don't have enough to do. Because actually, for a start, I was very grateful to those writers who stood up for free speech last year.
That's pretty
and
amazing,
I think anyone in India who cares about free speech should be grateful to those writers also, let alone persecute them. But I think that there is simply no way of having cultural festivals like the Jaipur Festival if different interest groups can start protesting about the presence of different writers. You have the point about a literature festival is that people come together to exchange ideas, and now some of those ideas may be things you don't like. But that's the point of having such gatherings.
You've got right-wing organizations now asking the organizers to throw out the Pakistani authors.
Well, exactly. Then you'll have tall people's organizations saying you should throw out short people, and thin people's organizations saying the fat people should be banned. Either we are going to have a free and open discourse in our society, or we're not. This is the choice.
The both of you, Deepa and Salman, you've both spent parts of your life, facing death threats, threats of persecution because of the books you write or the movies you've made. Political and religious expediency as a reason for cracking down on freedom of expression has only gotten worse in this country. I can tell you as a journalist, at least once a week, we report stories of politicians or group or clerics of any kind, of all religions, taking exception to a book or a play or a novel, or a piece of music, or even a cartoon book, as happened recently. It's actually gotten worse. It's actually gotten worse.
I agree with you. I think culture is a soft target,
It's easy,
artists have no armies. They have no gangs of gundas to go out on the street and defend their novel, So if that happens to be what you want to do, it's not that hard to do.
When was the last time that you saw, politicians being stoned? I haven't seen it ever.
But I think it's important that, if this country takes pride in being a free society, it needs to behave like a free society, and that means it needs to protect those people who express their ideas freely, instead of blaming them, which is what all too often happens, is that, the police will say it's, it's up to the Jaipur people to not offend anybody. Well, no, it isn't, because art and literature has always expressed ideas strongly, and sometimes that means that other people won't like that, But the answer to that is, read a different book, see a different movie, go to a different art museum.
You don't have to see the movie.
It's a choice. It's your choice.
And I think I'm very proud of the fact that when Midnight's Children came out as a book, it was so well received in India, in that climate of the early 80s. I was very proud of the fact that it's remained interesting to Indian audiences, and I would hope that the film will have the same kind of reception.
Salman, you've written a lot about what life was like after you wrote the Satanic Verses, about being in another country, all the threats. As a private individual, did you ever feel, not as a writer, but as a private individual, did you ever feel that if you could go back, you may not have written the novel at all?
I've been asked this question maybe once a week for 25 years, and the answer is yes, I would have written. I'm very proud of that book, I think there are a lot of people who really like that book, including, I have to say, a lot of Muslim readers. It's not like that there's a unanimity about this book, even inside the Muslim community. And it seems to me that the people who like this book have rights which are equal to the rights of the people who don't like it. I can't imagine my work without Midnight Children. I can't imagine it without the Satanic Verses.
Have you read the Satanic Verses?
Oh, yes, I have.
Is it a potential film? Ever?
Oh my God, it could be a wonderful film if you had a huge budget. And it's stunning. It's very cinematic too, I really do.
Would you want to see it made into a film, Salman?
You know, I want all my books made into films, and actually several of my short stories too.
Bring them on.
Bring them on. I mean, I'm hoping that this film might inspire some interest amongst filmmakers in some of the other books. You know,
I'm sure that, I mean, it has. People have really are intrigued.
You know, but considering there's been speculation of controversy, even for a book like Midnight's Children, you know, which relative to the Satanic Verses.
Controversy about the film?
About the film itself.
Oh, okay.
You know, because it has an element about the emergency and things like that. You know, it's taken far less to, you know, anger people in this country, certainly. I can tell you that as a journalist. But does it make you nervous thinking about the Satanic Verses as a film?
Oh, well, I mean, you know, I'm not sure that people are rushing to film it. You know, I'm not sure, you know, so we'll cross that when we come to it.
But you like the idea of it as a film?
Well, I mean, you know, you know, in a way, I don't care with any of my books. If they never get filmed, that's all right too, you know, because I don't write the book for it to be made into a film, you know. But if somebody comes along who is passionate about it, I mean, I always follow the passion, you know. I mean, the thing that happened with Deepa and me is that I could see that feeling for this book was so deep, you know, in terms of her own life and her own work, that I responded to her passion for it. That's why.
But you enjoyed transforming a novel that you wrote into a film, and you see yourself doing that.
You know, I'm glad to have done that once. I'm not sure that I would do it twice. I mean, I think.
No, I think the people should know that you really didn't want to write the script. I mean, Salman did not want to write the script. He said, "No, I've done it. I've written the book. I don't want to write the script." But I felt very strongly.
You made him write the script.
Absolutely. I said.
And in the end, everybody just does what she says. That's actually the easiest route. You know, Deepa says.
Deepa's boss.
Yes. Yes, G.
No, but
Thank you.
He's very funny.
I want to get your thoughts on some of the things that have been happening in the country right now. Last month, I'm sure you've read about it. There was a horrific crime in the capital. There was a gang rape and a murder of a young woman. You know, neither of you is a stranger to the psychology of violence. You know, you've spent large parts of both of your lives, you know, facing death threats of mutilation and bodily harm. What are your thoughts on, you know, one of the points of focus that has come up for debate in the media about the inherent violence in India right now?
I don't know about inherent, you know. I mean, I think the human race is what it is, you know, and I think that India is no more or less part of the human race than anywhere else.
You don't think it's more violent or less
no,
violent?
what I think is that there's
It's what's around it, right?
I mean, I would like people to have a greater sense of the value of life, you know. I mean, I think that we seem to be in a place where life feels cheap, you know, and when you have that idea about life, it becomes easier to damage it, you know, or indeed to take it, as happened in this case. I think India has very big problems in the way in which men think about women.
That's huge. That is so
know, and
huge.
I think before anything like this can be really eradicated, I think Indian men have to start thinking very differently about Indian women. You know, and not try to shift the blame into, you know, was she out too late at night? What were the clothes she was wearing? You know, no Indian man would ask himself whether he should be out at 11 p.m. wearing blue jeans, for example. You know, now why should it
happens all the time, though? You've got politicians saying it, you've got chiefs of police and states saying it.
And various godmen and gurus saying things like, you know, shifting the blame, you know, but actually...
And shifting the blame all to the women.
All to the women.
All to the women.
And we know this not just in India, but across the world. Rape is not just an Indian problem. You know, violence against women is not just an Indian problem. But the thing that needs to happen is not a change in the behavior of women. It's a change in the behavior of men.
Certainly is. Yeah. Well, that is a debate that, you know, we're keeping burning here on Headlines Today as well. You know, another burning issue right now, and it was recently in the news, Rahul Gandhi of the Congress, he's been appointed the vice president of the party.
Right at you, Salman.
Okay, I've been asked this question all week, look, but I'm going to ask you anyway because
Deepa.
Because I'm asking you.
I'm not that important. You're Salman.
All of these questions.
You know, so Rahul Gandhi is watching you right now, waiting to see what you're going to say.
The interesting thing is, it wasn't an election. He was appointed vice president of the Congress because
it's a dynasty.
It's a dynasty. And it comes on the back of some pretty significant electoral losses, which Rahul Gandhi was, you know, a campaign leader.
Like Gujarat, maybe?
What do you think?
Look, I mean, the truth is, I think he's a bit of an empty, blank slate right now. I mean, I would be interested to see what gets written on that slate, you know. I mean, I think sometimes he talks about wanting to, he's going to transform India, you know, and he's going to...
he represents the youth, and yet when all the, all the protests were happening about this woman being gang raped, murdered, he wasn't
Where
there.
were they? Where
was the rep of the youth? I mean,
that's true. I mean, I think
because he's become a sort of a symbol of that people mock at. There's a lot of derision. You're on Twitter. You're both on Twitter. I'm sure you've perhaps seen it sometimes. A lot of derision about Rahul Gandhi. Why doesn't he say more? Why doesn't he do more?
Let's see. I mean, I think obviously, if he's now in this new position, he presumably will say and try and do more. And I mean, I think people must be judged by their actions.
So let's see what he does.
And so, I mean, I think at the moment,
maybe he'll surprise us all.
The man who at least the media likes to pit Rahul Gandhi against is the Chief Minister of Gujarat.
Yes, I saw that debate.
Controversial figure, lends himself quite a bit to magic realism. He's got this 3D hologram that he projects into villages because he can't be there at the same time.
Wow.
It's a 3D hologram of himself where he's giving a speech. He's sitting in a studio and giving a speech, and that's a projection for these huge crowds.
That's a kind of the modern...
He's a polarizing figure. He's a polarizing figure, and he's almost unanimously regarded in the media as a potential future prime minister in 2014.
Yeah.
Everybody's sort of forgotten about Godra. Is that it?
What do you think?
Well, I mean, I haven't forgotten about that. I remember seeing a couple of years ago Nandita Das's excellent film Firak, which was about the consequences of the killings in Gujarat, and I'm very cognizant of the fact that the people who were responsible for that have never been brought to book, and there's plenty of fingers pointing in the direction of the Chief Minister, and somehow this appears not to have had any, he appears to have faced no real consequences for that. So of course I worry about it, I worry about the increasing authoritarianism of Indian politics, and in democracy we should all worry about that.
What else worries you about India? The both of you, are Indians. You've lived abroad for much of your life, for whatever reason. What else worries you about India? The benefit you have of an outside view. What worries you about this country?
Your turn.
What worries me about India is I still haven't, on a very strange level, I still haven't gotten over the rape and the murder of this young woman. And
a lot of people say that.
It's, for me, I live with it day and day, and every day I find that the story, which is inevitable, goes from the front page, and now it's not even in the newspapers. And my fear is that galvanizing force, that force of the voice that galvanized in Jantar Mantar, or before that in India Gate, has just dissipated.
People are gone from there.
It's like everybody's gone, I still don't understand why the media isn't allowed when these guys are being tried. I don't know what is happening to them in the jail, what is happening to that juvenile. No, it's somehow as if nothing happened. And what happened to that young man who was with her? That one television, the interview that I saw, but after that he's just disappeared. So what is the responsibility of the media? That's what really worries me, because it feels like the last bastion that can actually question, but somehow everything's for sale.
It's very worrying.
It's very
I don't understand why there's a ban on saying her name.
Yes, I don't understand that.
Why should she not be honoured in her own name?
Why doesn't she have an identity?
Now, there was actually a report in an English newspaper where her father actually did name her.
Yes.
And
but then they said it wasn't real.
Exactly. So I mean, that seems like also, if she doesn't have a name, she doesn't have a full existence, and so she can't even be remembered properly.
And I think Shashi Tharoor tweeted about that, and he got into such flack for questioning about that.
I think if you look at every step of that appalling event, I think it shows things about India which we need to look at. First, of course, there's the act itself, which is horrendous. But then here you have this couple who have been so savagely attacked, lying naked on the road.
What about the people?
Why does nobody offer them a covering? What does it say? Not just about the authorities, about passers-by, that nobody could put a cloth over them. You know, what does it say that the police response was so slow, and that then they're left there lying there while people haggle over jurisdiction?
Yes.
You know,
Or that they wouldn't carry her into the van.
I mean, there's so much, so many questions
Just
which are
that
asked
is-
about, not just about the criminals, about the general public passing by, about the police authorities, about the way in which we think about such a thing. It's a profound question, and suddenly none of these questions are being asked.
Well, having been here and covered this story, personally and as an organization, I can tell you that it's actually good to see that the story has affected the both of you this much, because I can tell you it has affected thousands of people in this country. We're completely out of time on this interview, though. Salman Rushdie, Deepa Mehta, it's been a pleasure talking to you. You're here to promote your film. All the very best. I hope to see you working together as well. Thanks for speaking to Headlines.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks.
We found one very easily, you know.
Were you mentally prepared at all for the film perhaps not releasing in India, a worst case scenario?
No, I would have
at
been
all.
very disappointed. I mean, look, as you said kindly in your introduction, this book has been around in India for a long time.
Yes.
And has been very well liked. You know, there's never been an issue about Midnight's Children. And so why should there be about the film? You know, I mean, the book has been here and millions of copies have been sold and people
And
like
pirated.
it. And pirated.
Have you ever been sold a pirated copy?
There for more than 100 days, and there was no problem at all.
And in India, Salman, were there any problems at all?
I have to say, really, I mean, in spite of all sorts of speculation that there would be problems,
Yeah.
there actually has
There
been
was
at all.
speculation.
There was speculation in the
Even
Indian
now,
media.
Yeah.
But the speculation was completely unfounded. I mean, there was a point where we were talking to a number of Indian distributors at exactly the moment that people were writing articles about how we wouldn't find an Indian distributor. In fact, I've been asked to sign one. And I remember when I expressed some reluctance to sign a pirated copy, that the person who had it said, "What do you want, Mr. Rushdie, readers or royalties?" And I said, "I don't see why I have to choose."
Yeah, both.
The pirates were so happy at one point, when the book first came out, they were selling so many copies of the pirate edition that the pirates started sending me thank you greetings cards. Happy birthday, the pirates. Happy New Year.
Midnight's Children is one of the world's most beloved novels. 32 years after it was first published, it is finally a film now. It has exploded upon the world now as a movie. The maker of the film and the writer of the novel, Salman Rushdie and Deepa Mehta, are with us in the Headlines Today studios. Welcome to you both. A sense of relief, a sense of achievement that the film is released without a hitch in India?
Oh, I'm thrilled. I mean, you know, there are always people that say that something's going to happen or the other, but it's just been wonderful. I mean,
Was there really no problem at all?
there was no problem. I mean, there's a bit of a hiccup when we were shooting, which in Sri Lanka, but that was resolved in 2 days literally, and we were